Bring the TerraFactor editor forward and move to the two-lane highway component. On the elevation page, elevation is relative to vector elevation. Edit cross-section profile. Let's move it out of the way so we can see our road view render. Open the diagnostic data window and move it out of the way too. The center line of the road starts at the vector elevation at 0 meters. It has the asphalt ecosystem attached to render left of the point. The next point is about 2.7 meters away from the center line and slightly lower. It also has the asphalt ecosystem, so it renders asphalt between this point and the first point. The third point also renders asphalt to the second point. Gravel comes next. Then short grass. Last is tall grass with some ecosystem mixing to blend the transition. At about 7.6 meters, the TerraFactor stops and the approach slope takes over. Close the profile editor and diagnostic data and go to the approach slope page. Cut and fill control how the TerraFactor changes the terrain between the edge of the TerraFactor and the total effect radius distance. Change the cut to a 50% slope. Save the project and render a preview. That gives us a more realistic edge to our highway. We can't have a highway just end without warning, so let's add one. We'll use another new WCS6 feature in the 3D Object Task Mode, Walls. We already have the revert vector, so add a default wall and call it End of the Road. Go to the Vector section in the lower scene at a glance and copy the revert vector to the wall. Make the height relative to ground elevation. Increase panel top height to 3 meters. Go to the panel material page and create a diffuse color texture. Choose the stripes element and view from the south. Change the left pin color to white. Change the right pin color to red. Rotate the texture 45 degrees about the Y-axis. Close the texture editor. Save the project and render a left perspective preview. Next comes the road for the development. Switch the planimetric view to real-time and zoom back a notch. Undock the view and drag it out for drawing room. Go to the Terrain Task Mode, select TerraFactors, and Create. Start a little out from the highway and digitize the vector. Name the vector Cabin Road when you're done. Load Dirt Road from the component gallery and accept the scaling option. Save the project and render a preview. While we're here, let's add the cabins. Go to the 3D Object Task Mode and select 3D Objects. Create a new 3D object with an attached vector. Left-click each place you'd like a cabin. Everyone's going to want a view of the woods from their front porch, so add cabins around the inside of the drive. Name it Cabins when you're done. This vector is for cabin placement, so pick Position when asked how you want to use the vector. Go to the Building page in the Component Gallery and load the log cabin. No, we don't want the cabin's position centered in the current DEM bounds. Save the project and render a preview. All the cabins have the same odd heading. Switch to the real-time view and bring up the 3D Object Editor to the Size and Position page. Choose Rotate, and we see that the component has a rotate Y value of 19 degrees. Change it to 0. The cabins are now all facing south. Another great new feature in WCS6 is 3D object alignment, which makes housing developments like this quick to set up. Go to the Align page. Choose Align Heading to Vector along the X-axis. The cabins will align to their placement vector by default. Select Align to this vector in the Vector section and pick the cabin road from the drop-down list. Go back to the Size and Position page and change the Rotate Y to 180 degrees to turn the cabins around. Save the project and render a preview. Looks good, so dock the view and switch back to real-time. Render a preview of the road view. The dirt road is spilling onto the highway, which it probably would as gravel slides around during use. We're going for the clean highway look though. Bring up the TerraFactor editor and go to the General page. By default, the roads are set to overlap. They have the same priority, which allows them to overlap and render. Increase the two-lane highway evaluation order to 2 to have it render over the dirt road in the overlap area. Read more about priority and evaluation order in the Interactive Reference Manual. They're very useful, but not necessarily intuitive the first time around. Save the project and render a preview. If you find the interface is a bit sluggish, it's probably due to the detailed OpenGL cabins in view. Go to the 3D Object Editor, General page, and change the preview to box. Zoom out of the plan view and go to the Render Task mode. Create a new default camera. Name it Cabin High and make it non-targeted. Control-click to place it south of the development at an elevation of 2,800 meters. Move the camera to a nice view of the development with the lake in the background. Save the project and render a preview.